starting lineup for the Yankees tonight. Still no Derek Jeter, still down with the flu. And so Brett Gardner, who had 5 hits, including a home run last night, goes back in the leadoff spot again. Nick Swisher, who did not start last night, plays in right field. Johnny Damon gets the night off, and Jorge Posada is in there after Francisco Cervelli caught last night.
Well, Tim Redding, 35 and 43 in his career, 4.98 ERA. You see his ERA is high this year, over 6. That's probably his second and third starts as a Met. Seems to be rounding into shape, though, and his pitches have been much more effective in the last 4 outings.
And the Metsy Chevrolet defense, brought to you by ChevyOffers.com. You see Murphy back at first base. You see 3 errors in the first inning, first time since '04. Church is back in right field tonight. That's because Jeremy Reed's getting a start tonight. Been on the bench for a while, done a perfect job. He's in center field. Schneider back in the lineup.
And Sheffield making his 2nd straight start. Remember, he got the cortisone shot on Wednesday. Had to sit out all 4 games against the Cardinals. Felt very good running in the outfield, he said last night, and that's very significant.
Well, you have to. The Yankees 9 last night, Sheffield 1, right? I mean, you got to have him back in that lineup.
Well, Brett Gardner had himself a career night last night. Only the 3rd Yankee rookie in their long and illustrious history to have 5 hits, including a home run in a game.
5 for 6 with 3 runs scored, a triple, a solo home run, 2 ribeye stakes. He was a double shy of the cycle.
Give me those 2 guys, Gary.
Well, one was Joe DiMaggio. The other was Shane Spencer. So which one is Brett Gardner going to be?
He's going with DiMaggio, by the way.
First pitch of the night, up and in. A little message from Redding against Gardner, who had the big night last night.
Well, nothing wrong with that. That wasn't that close. How about that? Shane Spencer.
Spencer, who at one time played for the Mets. 2-0 to Gardner. He's hitting .303, and over the last 35 games now, hitting .378. And the Yankees love his speed. Fastball down the middle, 2-1.
Redding, one of those Mets that also played with the Yankees. Gary Sheffield being the other.
Redding had all of 1 inning as a Yankee.
Un poquito, Gary.
Well, it was a big inning. But a very short stint on the inside edge to Gardner, 2-2.
That was a nice cutter there. It wasn't a 2-1 pitch. Started that ball in the middle of the plate, just rushed it inside just enough.
Bell time. Redding's 1 inning came in 0-5 against the Red Sox. He gave up 6 runs against Boston. As Gardner off the fist pops one up. And the shortstop Cora takes charge for the first out of the night. Chris Guccione calling the balls and strikes tonight. Mike Winters at first, the crew chief Jerry Lane at second, and Tony Randazzo, who had the plate last night, is at third.
Brett Gardner now, when he comes back to the bench, he'll talk to the other hitters on the Yankees. They'll say, what happened there? He said, boy, he pounded me in from the first pitch, that knocked me off the plate, and that pitch was definitely up and in also.
No, they Pelfrey pounded in early in the first couple innings, first time through the order of the Yankees last night.
Now Nick Swisher, and Redding comes inside to him 1-0. You see Posada getting the debriefing from Gardner. Is that normal? I mean, does every leadoff hitter do that, Keith? Come back into the dugout and give a little scouting report?
Well, you know, it was also the second hitter, too. I always wanted to know from my left-hand hitters. Lenny Dykstra was very good at it. Wally Backman was very good at it. You know, as your hitters, you're in it together. You know, I would come back and say and tell the hitters. You know, and most of the time it would be a confirmation of what the leadoff and number 2 hitters had said.
And they'll say some stuff like that only because I was there listening to it. They'll say, boy, Springball's got a nice bite on it. Or they'll say something like, he's sneaky fast tonight. He's got a good sneaky fastball, hard to pick up.
Mark Teixeira on deck, Redding behind 3-1 on Swisher, and he misses high ball 4. So Swisher, who is third in the American League in walks, draws his 48th of the year. The Yankees have a 1-out base run.
I think for both pitchers tonight, both Redding and Burnett, that will be their demise. It'll be who walks the least, because there's too many good hitters in this Yankee lineup to give a free pass to anyone.
Well, Teixeira, you can see in a little bit of a funk. 3 for 20 last 5 games.
0 for 4 last night. There's a strike.
Well, Teixeira got off to a horrible start. Boy, he's turned it on. 58 RBI for the season, 20 bombs. I know it's Yankee Stadium, but this guy's a proven 100 RBI man.
Swisher not a stolen base threat. 0-2 to Teixeira.
A good slider here. It's supposed to be a backdoor slider, but comes all the way across the plate. Luckily, though, it was down.
Reading contending with a Yankee team that scored 28 runs in their last 3 games. He was really concentrated on coming inside early.
Well, that's the book, and the Mets have had, as I said it earlier, Gary. Pelfrey did the same thing.
Good time to break out that 2-seam changeup right here. Get Teixeira to roll that over. Maybe get yourself a double play.
Snyder wants the curve and it misses low. 2-2.
I really think, Gary, that Teixeira is not really a third hitter. With this lineup, if they could get a bona fide third hitter in this Yankee lineup, then you can put Teixeira behind A-Rod in the fifth spot. It would be that would be pretty potent. And I mean, A-Rod, I think, is going to be your cleanup hitter.
Day is probably past where you would consider hitting Jeter third.
Yes. Slide step, sinker away.
2-2. And he just lowered it. And a full count to Teixeira.
Girardi last night was running his base runners in 3-2 situations.
Well, Teixeira's got 46 punch-outs so far this year. He may not with A-Rod behind him want to strike him out, throw him out.
Swisher not a fast man at first. But he's going. And there's ball 4 to Teixeira. So back-to-back walks. And this time, Reading walks a hitter. He was ahead of 0-2. And now A-Rod will come to bat with 2 men on.
You know, very interesting for Dan Worth and then Tim Redding. He's come into this ball game with a specific game plan. He's going hard. Hard curveball, hard slider, hard fastball. Very interesting that he wouldn't want to change speeds here early against this Yankee lineup.
Well, last night, Alex Rodriguez walked 3 times. And then his last time up in a 2-run bomb into the bullpen in right center.
And they're going to pound in. Well, you mentioned it, Ron. I didn't realize it at first. You said no one's gone that deep opposite field.
It's off the back of that fence.
And you are absolutely correct.
11th of the year, 564 for his career, now 11th all time.
You know, it's a good thing, Gary, to pound the hitters inside. It's good to try to back them off the plate, but at some point, big league hitters, if you cannot throw a strike inside, they don't care how many times you pound them in. Because if you cannot throw a strike, they know that where you're going to go to get a strike will be on the outside part.
Do you at least make them uncomfortable by working them inside?
I think you make them more uncomfortable when you can throw strikes inside.
Slider down. Snyder fakes to throw the first, and it's 2-1 to A-Rod.
It's like anything else, Gary. You've got to keep good hitters honest. You just can't have them diving out over the plate. You've got to pump them inside.
If you don't, you end up in a 2-1 situation like you have now, where you throw a slider, you might not get it back.
What happened last night right over the right center field fence.
And Rodriguez watches that slider away, and now it's 3-1. So what's a pitcher to do? Robinson, Cano waiting on deck. Dan Worth checking out charts, but I'm not sure charts can help Mr. Redding right now. Behind on Alex Rodriguez, 3-1.
It's the quickest any pitcher's got to 20 pitches, isn't it? Whew.
2 aboard with 1 out. And A-Rod gets under one to center field. Playable for Reed. Tagging at second, Swisher. He'll move over. But that's a very big second out for Tim Redding.
Well, take your chances. You don't want to walk the bases loaded. There was a fastball, Ronnie, plenty of plate. Your least amount to get hurt on a mistake with a fastball than you are with a breaking ball. And that's a good pitch to hit, Ronnie.
And this is where, if you're Tim Reddick, you give a nod not to your teammates, not to A-Rod, not to the catcher Snyder. Give a nod to Citi Field, because it allows you to do that in this ballpark.
See the defense for Cano, a slight shade in center to the opposite field. And I agree, he loves to drive that ball into that left center field gap.
Cano 2 for 6 last night, hitting at .302 on the year. 89 hits. That's tied for 5th in the American League.
There's another guy you got to crowd.
Swisher is on third to Sherry at first with 2 down. And Cano hits one foul down the left field side. 1-1.
I don't know about you guys, but it really is fun doing these games when the buzz in the ballpark like this.
Well, one thing we found out a couple of weeks ago when the Phillies were in, because of the way this ballpark is constructed, small with everybody close to the field and enclosed, it really holds the sound when the fans get going. And they did last night, and they are again tonight. It is loud. Popped up, foul ground, right, hoping for a play. Leaning in, but he can't get it. Right into that front row, where a Yankee fan was stationed with his camera.
He's the one that stopped Wright from making that play. Wright would have got a glove on it. I'm not saying he would have caught it, but he would have got a glove on it, and the Yankee fan was right at the right place. Watch this. David's going to get a glove on that. He's going to catch that baseball.
Looked like a guy knocking a rebound out of the hands of the 7-footer.
Goaltending. Give us the Mindy Rudolph.
Oh, you're right.
Foul.
Well, he might have sacrificed his cell phone. There's the 1-2. Cano swings and misses. A 92-mile-an-hour fastball for Redding gets him through the inning. 2 walks and 2 left, and the Mets come to bat in the bottom of the first with no score. Here's your starting lineup for the Mets tonight, brought to you by Toyota, a smart way to keep moving forward. Night off for Luis Castillo, so Argenis Reyes gets his first start of the year. Brian Schneider in his last 3 starts has driven in 8 runs. Jeremy Reed gets a rare start in center field. Daniel Murphy, after sitting the last 3 games, after doing a nice job pinch hitting the last few days, back in the lineup at first base as Nick Evans sits against A.J. Burnett.
Well, A.J. Burnett, who was one of the big signings for the Yankees this past winter, a 5-year contract that brings him through 2013. So far this season, 5-4. Some ups and downs for Burnett so far this year. When he is good, he is about as good as it gets, but he has those occasional lapses.
Most recently, sat out a 6-day suspension as a result of throwing a ball near the head of Nelson Cruz of Texas. So that means Burnett has not pitched in the game since last Saturday when he went down to his old haunts in Florida and lost 2-1 to the Marlins. Alex Cora really slumping right now. Thought that Alex might get a night off tonight. He's 0 for his last 15, and he's 0 for 19 in his career against Burnett, but it's Castillo who sits, and Alex keeps on playing.
You know, on that suspension for Burnett, that was against Texas, and he built up some nice equity within his clubhouse. That is the game that Vicente Padilla hit Mark Teixeira, and he answered with that ball up and around Nelson Cruz's head. That endears yourself to your teammates.
Burnett, who began his career as a Mets farmhand, pitched a well in the game against the Mets at Yankee Stadium. That 15-0 debacle. He pitched 7 scoreless innings in that game.
Well, he just had everything going that day. He had his breaking ball, could throw anything he wanted at any count, and they gave him the big bulge.
Cora down swinging at the slider, and Burnett off to a good start. Fann's the first man to face him.
Good slider here. It's got one of the best in the game. I mean, it is one of those, as my friend used to say, an Audubon slider. It changes lanes in midway. Go ahead, Keith.
And we'll take a look at the Yankee defense, brought to you by ChevyOffers.com. And you can see 4 errors in 68 games out there, Nick Swisher. But he's challenged, and that's going to be very interesting to watch, you folks back home in front of your television set. Swisher's had a little trouble, and that's a very challenging right field here in City.
Now Argenis Reyes, who was sent up as a pinch hitter last night in a key spot in the 5th inning and struck out against CC Sabathia, now gets his first start of the season.
Well, in Argenis's defense, he was a tad bit overmatched with some outstanding pitches from Sabathia. Sabathia was just too much.
Argenis was hitting .296 at Buffalo when he was called up. There's CC, who pitched a gem of a game last night.
Don't bite your nails.
And the breaking ball bounced to third. A-Rod with a stumbling stop. The off-balance throw got him. Alex Rodriguez had a terrific game in the field last night. He makes another nice play against Reyes.
Well, he's impressive and way off the line, and properly so. And nice play in the hole there. Nice up-hop for him. And he's had a very good series thus far with the glove as well as the bat.
I mean, that's a 6'5", 240-pound man with that kind of quickness at third base. Just it tells you that hip's coming around, doesn't it? He's enjoying that play.
So that means David Wright bats with 2 out and nobody on. David was held hitless last night. We went 0 for 4. Still leads the National League in batting at .351. He takes breaking ball for a strike.
Seems like Ichiro Suzuki is up to .369, I believe. Seems to get 4 or 5 hits every night.
One and one to right.
Well, you see a guy like Burnett, who's a great game he threw against the Mets at Yankee Stadium, and how he's throwing right now, Ronnie. You wonder how he loses.
Well, I will say that even though that was the Santana game where the theme is you just think about how Santana got blown out of that game, they had him on the ropes, Burnett, early in the game. He was walking people. He had 4 walks early, and then after he got that lead, he really settled down. But they did have him on the ropes. He's throwing much better early here than he was in Yankee Stadium.
This is outside. It's 3-1. Burnett leads the American League in walks. He's walked 44 batters in 87 innings. And, you know, as a guy who early in his career walked a lot of people, Ronnie, Burnett is a guy who's never quite figured that out. As Wright fouls it off.
Yeah, I mean, I led the league in 85 of 100 and I don't know how many. 114 walks, and that's just putrid, awful. And the thing about Burnett, he has so much movement on his ball that sometimes he goes through stretches where he cannot find home plate. When he does, though, he's almost unhittable.
3-2 to Wright. Fouled it off. Saw that graphic. The last Yankee to lead the league in walks was Phil Niekro, but of course he was a knuckleballer. That's 24 years ago.
Nuxie. He was a big proponent, Phil. I remember he told me once, because you know what? I'm a knuckleball pitcher. When I want to walk someone intentionally, why can't I just tell him to go to first base?
Again, the 3-2, and David fouls another one back.
He's throwing hard. 96.
He's got electric stuff, and that's why he's always been one of those guys that people go, you know, why is he not better? Very simple motion. Remember now, he's 6'7", 6'6", 6'7", high leg kick. And the thing that you are amazed about A.J. Burnett.
Whoa! He gets David looking. 2 strikeouts in the inning for Burnett. And the Mets are down 1-2-3. That is one nasty slider.
Buckle your world.
ChevyOffers.com. Find your nearest dealer on ChevyOffers.com. Second inning, no score. Jorge Posada leads off. Posada sat out last night after catching a long game in Atlanta on Thursday night. Posada hitting at .272, the veteran switch hitting catcher. Much better from the right side than the left so far this year. Posada is now 37 years old, an age at which most catchers' careers have taken a severe downturn.
Well, don't forget, not only has he been a real workhorse, save for last season when he hurt that shoulder, but also playing on a team a lot of his career that he spent a lot of October playing baseball also. But you cannot discount the kind of offensive player that he has been in his career. More home runs, more walks, more RBIs than any other catcher in the game in this decade.
Is there only 3 left on the Yankee team from that dynasty?
Well, that's the other thing. He's part of that core with Jeter and Rivera that carries that legacy of the 4 titles in 5 years.
Well, isn't that the hardest thing to do if you are an organization, if you are a general manager?
On the inside corner, strike 3 call. Great pitch by Redding. Talk about throwing a strike inside. He did there, and he got Posada.
Well, this is the one that comes back over, Keith. Starts inside and stays true. Nice pitch by Redding. That catches at least the front of the strike zone. That's close enough.
Too close to take.
Good pitch.
If you're Ted Williams, you get that call.
I was just saying, you know, you have Jeter, Posada, and Rivera, and they've had to make these decisions late in their career because they are institutions in this organization.
Well, the biggest difficulty the Yankee organization is going to have is with Jeter, who just turned 35 yesterday. He's got a contract through next season, so it'll be 36 and a half when the contract runs out. What do you do? I mean, clearly they'd love to keep him around, but you know, Jeter will probably want a long-term deal. His shortstop skills have diminished. You're probably going to have to move him to another position. Will he be willing to do that? Will the Yankees be willing to keep him around? What will they have to pay? Elke Cabrera grounds one out to shortstop. And Cora with the overhand throw and off the bag Murphy to make the tackle. That's 2 bad throws now for Cora the last 2 days. But Murphy bailed him out there for the second out.
Well, the one yesterday that he made the error on, he tried to rush. Here he got caught a little between.
Oh, not that bad a throw. Not that bad a throw. Murph did not have to come off the bag for that. And Murph is a work in progress at first base. But I think if you have an accomplished first baseman there, you make that play with your foot in the bag on a nice stretch.
The best throw of my generation of players from shortstop to first base was watching Mr. Alan Trammell of the Tigers throw to first. Every single throw was chest high right there. He threw straight over the top.
That was Ozzie for me.
Ozzie was the same.
Ozzie didn't hardly ever make a bad throw.
Ramiro Pena rips one down the right field line, and that one will go into the deep corner. Pena heads for second as Church digs it out. And there's the first hit of the night for either side. The number 8 hitter Pena subbing again tonight for Jeter. Does what he did last night when he had 2 doubles his first 2 times up.
And right on our talk of Derek Jeter, what to do. Pena again, Keith.
Well, he went 3 for 5 last night with an RBI, 2 doubles, and 2 runs scored. And picking up the slack for the under the weather Derek Jeter.
So here's A.J. Burnett, who has 3 home runs in his career. Not a great hitter, but dangerous. And he takes a strike.
Well, he's had enough at bats, of course, being in Florida. A counterpart in the next room always loves me to remind everyone he was traded for Al Leiter, Mr. A.J. Burnett.
It's a deal that worked out for both teams.
Yes.
2-1 now to Burnett. Well, A.J. was something of a wild child when he was in the Mets organization. But he has forged himself a nice career and now a huge contract. 5-year deal he got from the Yankees.
Alan James Burnett last season, outstanding year. Said he got a lot of knowledge from pitching in Toronto under the tutelage of watching Roy Halladay pitch all the time and coming off a career high 231 strikeouts last season. So all those things combined got him in a unique bargaining position.
2-2 from Redding, and he fouls it back. Roy Halladay will be returning for the Blue Jays this coming week, coming off the disabled list. Last guy to play his whole career in Florida and Toronto, and then come to New York. Carlos Delgado.
Oh, there you go. Brian Pena getting a big, Pena getting a big lead at second base.
And the curveball, did he swing? No. Redding was walking off the mound, but Mike Winter says no swing.
And I don't think he swung. I thought he checked it.
But I will say in the old days, if the pitcher checked his swing, you were going to take a seat.
So Redding, who had 1 foot in the dugout, will have to rev it up again here. Three-2. Foul back. And as a pitcher, is that a difficult thing to do when you have already left the mound and in your mind the inning is over?
Yeah, I think what you have to do as a pitcher, if you tend to do that as a part of your repertoire, you need to change that. Really, because it doesn't do anyone any good. It can get you in hot water with the umpires. Just stay there till he calls it.
And nothing to call there. Burnett down on the high fastball. 3 strikeouts first time through the batting order for Redding. A double and 1 left. No score. Volkswagen, it's what the people want. Hanley Ramirez, 15 RBIs in his last 5 games, but couldn't keep the Marlins from losing to the Rays last night. Albert Pujols 2 more homers today in the Cardinals win over the Twins, and Josh Beckett came out of the game because he wasn't feeling all that well, but pitched 7 shutout innings against the Braves last night.
He's been great for his last 8 or 9, to tell you the truth, and no base on balls. That tells you that he is on time.
Speaking of who's hot, how about the American League East against the National League East last night, going 5-0 against the NL East and outscoring them 37-7.
That's a beating.
Philly's got a measure of revenge today. They shut out Toronto 10-0 behind J.A. Happ.
37-17 now. A little break.
Ryan Church leads off the home second against A.J. Burnett. Church back in the cleanup spot. Went 0 for 3 last night.
Happ won his 5th ball game against no defeats.
Jason Worth had a couple of home runs today for the Phils. Church goes the other way and fouls it off. The Red Sox beat the Braves again today 1-0 as Tim Wakefield outdueled Javier Vazquez.
I think Wakefield got his 10th win today, and this might be a chance for him to make the All-Star team this year. This is his 18th season. He's never made an All-Star team.
It's amazing. One and 2 to Church. He's hitting at .273, and as Jerry Manuel said the other day, he's now an everyday player. It took a while to get to that point, but Jerry knows he needs Church, and he needs him badly right now.
Oh boy,
just a little high.
Let it go.
Where's the mascot?
You looking for the bowl?
Yes.
Doink. Andy Pettit next to CC Sabathia. Church went around. Another nasty slider from Burnett for his 3rd strikeout.
Well, all set up with the fastball.
Tough to lay off. Down and in. You know, and people say, how can the left-handers swing at that ball down and in? That's so bad. Well, left-handers love the ball down and in. So when they see it in that area, they're ready to go, and then it just disappears.
In 20 words or less, when I get asked that question, I say, easy. How can you swing at that pitch? Easy.
Gary Sheffield provided the only offense for the Mets last night with his 9th home run of the season. That now leads the ball club, one more than Carlos Beltran.
Let me correct myself. I said Wakefield was in his 18th year. It's his 17th year. There's 2 guys that have made the All-Star team in more years than that. David Weathers in his 19th year, and Arthur Rhodes took 18.
Saying 2 guys who haven't made the All-Star.
Yeah.
Where'd you get that little tidbit?
He's got his sources.
You've been, I tell you, Ron, you're overworking. Relax.
Now Burnett behind Sheffield 2-0. And Sheff takes inside. By the way, Wakefield, no All-Star games, but 9 postseasons.
Yes. I think he'd take that. 2 rings in that badge, too, I'm
sure.
He tied today with his most starts ever by a pitcher for the Red Sox. 182 ties Roger Clemens.
Ball 4, and Sheffield draws a 4-pitch walk. So the Mets have their first base runner of the night. And now Daniel Murphy, last started on Tuesday against the Cardinals, has appeared in all 3 games since then, going 1 for 2 with a sacrifice fly as a pinch hitter, and you'll love to see that. I mean, he sits for 3 days, but he stays ready and has given the Mets good at-bats coming off the bench in all 3 of those games.
Well, he's got a nice stroke, Gary. 2 pinch hit. He's short and level and goes up the middle.
And thinking about a bunt with Aaron playing back 1-0.
you know, his personality is such that there's the thing you're going to have to see as he gets along in his career is ability to relax a little bit, because he's really one of those guys that's ready to go all the time.
He's very intense, very serious about his work.
And they've had to ask him to back off his work a little bit, which, interestingly enough, also happened to David Wright when he was in the minor leagues.
I think the guys today hit a little bit too much. You know, always there was the old saying, when you get in a hot streak, you don't want to waste any of those hits in the cage or in BP. The Lord only gives you so many in a hot streak. You don't want to waste them before the game starts.
I mean, they literally locked him out of the cage, didn't they? They told him he could not go into the cage. The problem is with guys, when you're struggling, you'll work harder in the cage, but a lot of times when you're struggling, your swing is not right, so you're practicing wrong.
So you're reinforcing bad habits.
There you go.
1-1 to Murphy. Fouls it away.
Well, that was red hot, Gary, and a real red hot streak. I would just take, maybe you get 5 rounds, maybe 6 rounds of during the BP before a game. I'd take the first round 10, second round was off, 2 rounds of 10. If I hit him good, I'd back out. I'd get out of the cage.
Keith, did you guys have batting cages under the stands available to you when you were playing on a regular basis?
Yes, we shared at Shea. Down the right field line was the batting cage. There was only one cage. Only one guy could go in at a time.
So they had them in every stadium, but you didn't have as much access because you had to share.
Right.
And guys would use it more, Keith, when in rain situations.
Right. I never liked to hit in the cage. I wanted to see, one thing the cage doesn't provide for you is where you hit the ball and perspective of the field. In respect to the field, whether it's in the gap or whatever. It's important for me to know.
1-2 misses outside.
It's like throwing a bullpen inside, Gary. You feel like you're throwing 110 miles an hour. When you're hitting in the cage, you feel like you're rattling line drives everywhere when really you're not.
Sure, when you're inside, that ball hits the catcher's glove, it sounds like an explosion.
Exactly.
The echo.
The only good feeling there was in BP in a cage was when you hit a line drive right back at the pitcher's screen.
Right.
That was the only one that felt good.
You ever break a pitching machine?
No, I'm not that strong.
2-2 to Murphy with 1 out. And Daniel hits one to left. In and toward the line comes Cabrera, and he runs it down. Nice play by Melky Cabrera, who had to come a long way to catch that fly ball for the second out.
Well, did Melky figure there was a couple outs here and the inning was over? This is all about positioning. Melky's playing Murph way over down towards the line, and that's why he makes the play.
Great speed, though. Get to that baseball.
If he did forget how many outs there were, it's a good thing for him he didn't hand that ball to a fan.
Exactly.
Because then Sheffield would be at second.
Pull a Larry Walker.
He knew. Yeah, he was just pulling up.
Yep.
So 2 out. Sheffield still at first, and now Jeremy Reed making just his 11th start of the season. Last started on Monday against the Cardinals. And when given opportunities, Reed has looked good. He's hit .293. Hasn't hit for any power or driven in many runs.
He doesn't hurt you defensively. He's a good, solid outfielder. Can play all 3 outfield spots. He just hasn't had an opportunity to play a lot. And when he's gotten that opportunity, he's contributed.
Well, one thing's for certain on this team right now, and that is that opportunity abounds. If you have a good day, there's every chance you'll play tomorrow.
But that's what was so disturbing, isn't it? That they had so many people down that he, of all people, was never really given a shot. Everyone else was.
Well, the problem the Mets have right now is they have Fernando Martinez on their roster. And he's sitting for the 2nd straight day. But he can't sit for long. If he's going to sit on a consistent basis, Fernando's got to go back to the minors.
I agree. He's young. He needs to play. And it's not doing him any good to be up in the big leagues and sitting.
Jerry says he will start tomorrow against Chen-Ming Wang in the final game of this series. 2-1 to Reed. And now Burnett behind 3-1 with Brian Schneider, who's been swinging a red-hot bat waiting on deck.
You know what's also worked against Jeremy Reed is is that the Mets have always played someone in left field for the most part this season that needs to be relieved defensively late in games.
And he's been the relief. And Burnett walks Reed. Second walk of the inning, and now Schneider, who's been excelling lately with men on base, will come up with 2 men on.
Especially with 2 men on base. Yep. He's had a couple of 3-run home runs. Then he also had a 2-run double in this past week. 8
RBIs in his last 3 starts for Schneider. Part of the 51 runs batted in accumulated by Met catchers this year, the most of any catching core in the majors.
It's really crazy, isn't it?
It really is.
But they got 51 RBIs behind the plate from 3 different people now. People out there were including the traded Ramon Castro in that. And that no other position on the field for the Mets has more than those RBIs.
And Schneider's got great career numbers against Burnett. 9 for 23, a .391 average against A.J. Burnett. 2 out and 2 on. And the breaking ball outside. Jose Reyes was out doing some light running earlier today. Still very far away from a return.
I'm very happy with that conversation anytime it happens. Mr. Cora with Mr. Reyes.
Schneider pops one up. And Teixeira calling all the way. That retires the side, so A.J. Burnett able to work around a couple of walks. On to the third, top of the batting order coming up for the Yankees. No score. Well, we mentioned it earlier. Jose Reyes out doing some light running today. See the stocking on his right injured leg? Oh, the compression sock, I guess.
Yes, keeps a little warmth in there. Also, looks good up the plate.
And Jose said before the game today, again, as he did about a month ago when this thing first started, he said, I can play when I'm 85%. And reporters then asked Jerry Manuel about that, and Jerry basically said, no, I'd be concerned about him playing at 85%, which is a change because, again, when Reyes first heard this and he was first talking about coming back at 85%, Jerry was not quite as negative on that idea. But with what has transpired over the last month and with Reyes' game being what it is, how can you feel otherwise?
Well, I told you the calf is a very tricky thing. And all the explosion when you can monitor yourself in the field if you have a injured groin or you're healing a hamstring or a quad, but when you're in that box and you got to burst out, you can't control that. I don't care who you are. Or a ball hits your left or right, it's a bullet and you're going to react, and all that force of your body falls on that calf, that leg, to propel you forward. that's why it's such a tough injury.
And remember, Jerry said that, Keith and Gary, before he re-injured it in Los Angeles. He said, you know what, 80% might be fine. And then when he tried to run out tried to get a base hit on a softly hit ball, and that's where he pulled it. I think that's why Jerry, when he saw that, said, you know what? He cannot play at 80-85% because his game is the explosive game. And I mean, for all intents and purposes, Gary Sheffield is playing at 85% because he can do that.
Right. He's a different kind of player. 2-2 to Gardner, who popped up to short his first time up. And he smacks one to center field. Reed is right there and reaches up to grab it. One away.
Well, another thing, too, and not to belabor the point, but when you originally hurt, whatever you hurt, the muscle, I don't care what it is, if you it's 3 weeks, maybe a month, if you re-injure it, you can almost double the time coming back. So if you do it a third time, you really take the chance of losing Reyes
for the season.
But even if in the perfect world he was able to control himself and play at 80%, is that player valuable to the Mets? I mean, it would be nice to have Reyes' bat back in the lineup, but what you really need is what he really brings to the game, which is the dynamism that comes out of those legs. And if you're at 80%, if Reyes is at 80%, you lose that. You lose the stolen bases. You lose the infield hits. You lose all of that energy that Jose brings to the table.
It'd be nice to have his bat, though, wouldn't it?
Yeah. 2-0 to Swisher, who walked his first time up.
I personally, if he's at 80%, I'd rather Cora play. I mean, that's just me.
I'm with you.
Because he just, his energy, his ability to steal bases, his ability to steal runs, and the only way that he can do that is what you need Reyes to do. And also, you don't forget how great his defense has become. That's important for the team also. Boy, these people on the foul balls back here get smoked. It hits that back wall. And if you don't pay attention, it's coming right back on the back of your head.
2-1 to Swisher. Whoa. Makes him move his feet.
Played with Nick's dad, Steve Swisher.
He's a catcher, right?
Backup catcher. Most of his career with the Cubs.
One-time Met coach.
Swish was one of the best batting practice hitters I ever saw.
That does not sound like praise.
Well, he never played every day, but Swish could hit some bombs, even in Old Bush Stadium in BP. He put on a display.
Well, Nick has hit 13 home runs this year. Hitting just .238, but a great eye at the plate. Hits this one well to left center field, chasing Reed back to the track, looking up, and it's out of here. Nick Swisher with an opposite field home run, his 14th of the year, and he gives the Yankees a 1-0 lead. Well, last night we saw A-Rod hitting right-handed, hit one to the opposite field where we had not seen one go before. And now Swisher hitting left-handed, hits one where no left-hand hitter had hit one at center field.
Well, Steve's son has no problem hitting at 7 o'clock, Keith.
That's what we used to ask Swish when Swish was hitting. What time is it? 5 o'clock. Not his son. Right there. Boy, outside corner. That's a long poke. That's 384 right there in a 16-foot fence. That's a bomb.
That was very impressive. 14 on the year for Swisher, the 6th that Redding has given up. And Teixeira takes inside, 2-0. Teixeira walked his first time up. And Redding falls behind 3-0.
Well, you know, you can argue that in April, when A-Rod was rehabilitating, Nick Swisher was the best player the Yankees had.
There's a strike. This is the 12th Yankee hitter. Redding has been 3 balls on 6 of the 12. He's walked 2, including Teixeira his first time up. And Teixeira gets under one to center field. This one's playable for Reed. And there are 2 away. there's an awful lot of room in that outfield, which makes that shot by Swisher that much more impressive.
Well, 384 where he hit it. And that looks like, is that an Iroquois or Huron haircut right there? I don't know.
More like Cree.
A-Rod flying to center his first time and takes a strike.
I think you're right, Gary. That's so impressive because you know Teixeira, when he gets it, it's going to be out of any ballpark. You know when A-Rod hits it, it's going to be out of any ballpark. But for Swisher to go opposite way.
And that didn't just make the first row. A-Rod's right down the right field line. That'll slice into a foul. 0-2. He had it 10 rows back.
I mean, that's where you would anticipate a right-handed power hitter hitting the baseball.
That ball's over the picnic area at Shea. 0-2 off the corner. Anybody see Kate tonight? She was here last night, rooting A-Rod on.
Richard Gere's here tonight, is he not?
Yes, he is. Saw Richard down in the stands. He's a huge Yankee fan from Syracuse, New York, originally. Shares with you, Keith. Mickey Mantle was his hero growing up.
Not surprising.
Curveball line to left, getting in front of it. Sheffield. Side retired. Yankees break the ice. The first run of the game brought to you by Dunkin' Donuts. America runs on Dunkin'. Nick Swisher supplying the opposite field power for his 14th of the year. And the Yankees jump in front 1-0. Well, that's special for Met fans.
What?
They actually have water in the dunk tank now.
Oh, dunk tank, because it's warm enough.
Yeah, earlier this season they had the foam, which didn't give you quite the visceral pleasure if you were knocking somebody into the dunk tank. But now the weather is nice. Tim Redding leads off for the Mets and grounds one toward the hole. Ramiro Pena with time on the backhand. Throws out Redding, one away, but Redding did run hard.
Nice hustle by Tim. He almost beat it. Can't take it for granted that a pitcher is just going to do the la-di-da down the line.
La-di-da.
Well, sometimes, Keith, don't you want to force that pitcher to run hard if you're an infielder?
Well, I think they're in shape.
If you're a pitcher and running down to first is going to affect your game at all, really not doing a lot in between starts, I'll tell you that.
I think what gets a pitcher tired is if he has to score from first on a double or hits a triple and it's a hot day in Atlanta or
St. Louis in August.
Yes. Then you want maybe. But then again, the pitchers aren't going to run out of ball, and that kind of those.
So you say the 30-yard sprint isn't enough to wear him out, but the 90-yard sprint is?
90 yards is murder, man. Let me tell you. Think about it. Very difficult. You got to turn and corner the base. It makes it more tough.
I hit a triple in Chicago. Ran around the bases, got to third, and Buddy Harrelson was there. He said, "Stand up, Ronnie, stand up." I got there to third base, and I was just standing there. And congratulations, way to go.
3-0 core.
And he goes, "You're not breathing hard." And I go, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "You're not breathing hard. All players breathe hard when they hit a triple." I said, "But that's what all I do is run. I don't do anything else except run, except once every 5 days. That's all I do."
Do you think pitchers run as much now as they did in your day?
I think it's more scientific. They do. We saw Tim Redding, a great piece by Kevin Burkhardt on how he does the bike and cardiovascular, and he does long running and wind sprints and all those kind of things.
Cora right to Gardner in center field, and that's the second out. Watching the Picks game of the week could land you some amazing seats at Citi Field during every Mets game here on Picks. We're giving you a chance to score free tickets to an upcoming game presented by McDonald's and the new Mac Snack Wrap. So tune into the Picks game of the week all season long for your chance to win free Mets tickets.
Really nice job with the snack wrap, Gary. Now, I was saying that the pitching coaches that I have, here I'm starting the story with 2 outs, always wanted you to do a lot of long distance running because it's very much like pitching. When you pitch, you start and you finish something, and in between has a lot of pain sometimes. It's the same with running.
Look at our hands there, sporting some nifty little spats.
Wow, look like the Dave Wright shoe.
You wear those with a suit.
Can't say that I care for them.
So it was nice of you to point them out. Grounded to the right side for Cano, who makes the flip. And an easy inning for A.J. Burnett as the Mets go down 1-2-3.
He's in front of the Mets 1-0 game 2 of this Subway Series. The Mets looking to get even as Tim Redding back on the mound for the Mets. And we've been following Tim Redding all week from start to start, telling you about his routine. Of course, you heard the guys talk about his running and all the different things that he does. And I talked to him yesterday about what his routine would be today before the start. And he said, well, night games for me, just want to kill the time. I can't stand all the time from waking up to the night game. So anything to kill the time, because I find out going into today, he said, I already have my game plan. I've looked at the tape, talked to coaches. I know what I'm doing, and I just don't want to overthink it. So he said, I'll do anything. Perfect example. His agent flew into town today. He actually drove to the airport to get him, guys. Now, you could have easily sent the car, but he just wanted to kill the time, that type of thing. I asked him for superstitions. He said, not really. You know, he said, if I get on a hot streak, I'll pay attention to things like what I'm eating or what time I'm eating day of game, things like that. The only superstition I have is jumping over the lines in and out of the game. He said, for me, the reason why, that's like the last line of relaxation. Once I do that, I know it's over, the focus is on. But not really a superstitious guy, but a time-killing guy, that's for sure. And hopefully we get a chance to talk to him a little bit later. Ronnie, I'm curious, your day of start. Well, how did you kill the time? What would you do?
Well, I was just thinking, that's one, we have to say thank you so much to Tim Redding for allowing us to take a peek into his week and in between starts, because that's compelling, fun to listen to.
Cano pops one up, and onto the outfield grass goes Reyes to make the grab one away.
I used to eat the same time every day before a night game, and it was early. I used to eat around 12:30 because I wanted to be hungry once the game started, and hungry and mean when the game started. And always ate the same thing, a steak with something with it. And but I honestly, Kevin, did not want to do too much. I didn't want to spend a lot of time around people because I don't know. I could not suffer fools gladly on my day. Someone would say something, wouldn't take much to put me in a foul mood.
Were you edgy before on the day you were starting?
Listen, my family must hate me to this day. It was just awful to be around me on my day. They would plan on going to see movies and doing anything to get away from me and get out of the house.
Lozada grounds one, just foul.
So, Ronnie, I'm guessing you weren't picking up your friends at the airport the day of the start. That's just a guess. I wanted to ask both of you guys, though, Keith and Ron. You know, we look at the Mets clubhouse, like Livan Hernandez, for example. You could have a full-fledged conversation the day he pitches. He doesn't care. Who was the most ornery the day they pitched? Who was the guy you didn't want to be within, 200 yards of?
Gosh, well, you didn't want to get around Bob Gibson, that's for sure. And I'm showing my age, and certainly I was a young player then and not a star when Gibby was there. But you cleared away from Gibby, but Gibby was an old pro. It wasn't like he was pitching in a 7th game of the World Series.
I'll tell you the one, Keith. When I went to Oakland, Dave Stewart was a great pitcher for those A's. 20-game winner, it seemed, every single year. And Kevin, he would get to the ballpark now for a 7:05 game. He'd get to the ballpark at 6:30. He'd be dressed by 6:35. 6:40, he'd walk out to the mound in Oakland. 6:45, he'd start warming up, and then come back to the bench at 7. So literally 1/2 hour from when he got there, he was ready to go out and pitch. Never any smile. And he would sit on that bench. He would take his hat off after the warm-up before he went out. And you'd look at him, and you thought he was going to die. Like he had something wrong with him. He looked like he had spent all of his energy. And then he would just gather himself. He'd put his cap on the way he used to put it, just snug and tight in the right way. And he would rise, and just like a pastor in the church, the whole team would rise, and they'd go out there, and he was just fantastic in those Oakland years.
Lozada down swinging at the fastball. Well, Redding threw him the changeup on 2-2, but then gets him swinging at the fastball. That's 4 strikeouts now for Redding.
Well, just like the strikeout of Robinson Cano, that fastball up in the strike zone seems to have a little more life for Redding.
Kevin was talking about Livan Hernandez being a guy you could approach. Normal clubhouse etiquette is that nobody goes near the starting pitcher the day of the game. There was always one exception in recent years with the Mets. On the days that Al Leiter pitched, he would hold court. I mean, he'd be sitting there. There'd be 3 or 4 guys in chairs around him, reporters. Al, he couldn't sit still. He couldn't stop talking. It was like a complete opposite of everything you're taught about how to treat a starting pitcher on the day of his start.
Al's just got to stay away from those energy drinks, huh, Keith? I mean, come on.
Al's right over there, one booth over from us. There's Big Al. There's David Cohn, the Conehead. One of my favorites.
Oh, he is. What a beauty, Michael Kay.
those guys doing over there?
What's George doing? Is he playing video games?
Those are Mets. What are they doing over there?
That's right.
Here's the 1-1 to tie to Cabrera 2-1.
They spend time in both pitch strikes.
That's true. It's not quite as bad as Seaver working over there.
Oh, man. How did that work out?
That's a good question. Fastball strike, and Redding gets even on Cabrera 2-2. Now Tim gave up a couple of home runs in his last start to Ryan Ludwig and then surprisingly to Brendan Ryan, but otherwise pitched very well against the Cardinals. He's given up the 1 home run tonight. Throws the curveball, Cabrera fouls it off.
Just wanted to ask along those lines, such good stuff on the pitchers. How about relief pitchers? Did you find that any certain routines with guys you play with or guys you've observed along the way?
Well, I didn't have very many off days. Oh my goodness, we'll have to come back to that.
Relief pitchers tend to be a little goofier, Kevin.
Well, they're more like everyday players.
There you go.
Good inning for Redding with a couple of punch outs as he gets Cabrera looking. Still 1-0 Yankees. To a game at Citi Field presented by McDonald's and the new Max Snack Wrap. Call 1-866-414-2911. If you're the 11th caller, you'll be loving it at Citi Field. Heart of the batting order for the Mets in the 4th inning against A.J. Burnett. David Wright leads off and fouls the first pitch away. In the last 16 innings, going back to Thursday afternoon's game against the Cardinals, the Mets have scored 1 run. And in 13 of those 16 innings, they've been retired 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, 8 out of 9 last night's ball game.
And 2 out of 3 tonight. 1-1 to Wright, who took a call third strike his first time up.
On a great curveball from Burnett.
Well, again, these Yankee pitchers, Sabathia last night ran through the first 9 people in the order, and again, Burnett with a strong start.
Wright tied up. He went around. Mike Winters with the call, 1-2.
Did you see him go around there, Keith?
I thought he did.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh boy, I tell you, I'm hitting. I want that.
You've been thrown out of a lot of games you played now, by the way.
You're not getting that, by the way. Line to right field, but right at Swisher. 1 away. He's your Verizon high speed for tonight. A.J. Burnett getting up above the mid-90s. And Tim Redding topping out at 92. That's been a nice high fastball at 92 that Redding's used as a strikeout pitch tonight.
Redding has a little more pop, it seems, every single time he goes out. You know, we're talking about a guy who missed spring training. maybe rounded into pitching shape for Tim.
Now Ryan Church fouls away the fastball.
I've always said it is that 92 mile an hour is plenty.
Yeah, trust me. A little movement you don't mind.
I think 90 miles is getting up there.
Yeah.
You got a good breaking ball with it and good off-speed stuff, you're going to win.
As long as you know how to locate that 90.
I just love to laugh at the fact that everybody thinks that 92 is nothing today. 92 is plenty. That's rushing it up there. As a hitter, you don't have much time to think.
0.4 seconds.
Is that what it is?
Something like that.
Was I that good?
Bouncing ball, Cano to his right, and the flip throw gets it. He makes that look so easy.
Yes.
That Manny Trio style sidearm toss.
And it's funny, if you traditionally taught anyone, you would teach someone to stop, place, and throw. But when you can do it like that, he just has a fantastic strong arm.
Nicely done.
So 2 out and Sheffield stands in. Sheffield walked on 4 pitches his first time up. Sheffield leading the Mets now in home runs with 9. The entire Mets starting lineup tonight has 22 home runs. The entire Yankees starting lineup, including Swisher's bomb tonight, 76.
David and Goliath.
Yeah, but David won that war.
He did, buddy. Hey, when you play, Keith, a guy throwing 88, was that slow or that still was
88
good enough?
usually was a sinker ball pitcher.
Yeah, because the reason I'm saying it is that Burnett is throwing, 95, 96, 97 miles an hour. Okay. Now you're not going to tell me that A.J. Burnett, despite all of his great abilities, throws as hard as Nolan Ryan. And Nolan Ryan in our day was 94, 95, 96.
I thought Nolan was the only one that legitimately threw 100 miles.
Occasionally, but he was more 94, 95, 96 that could throw 100.
I think also the guns have changed.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is that the guns now? Nolan Ryan would be throwing 102 to 105 every game.
Right.
We were just watching the Game 5 from the '86 League Championship Series, and they had a gun, but they didn't display it every pitch, and it wasn't displayed in the stadium the same way as it is now. Breaking ball by Burnett strikes out Sheffield, and that's his 4th strikeout as the Mets are down 1-2-3 for the 14th time in the last 17 innings. On to the 5th, 1-0 Yankees. Series on Picks is brought to you in high definition by Verizon Fios. If you're not watching in Fios HD, see what you're missing. Call 1-888-GET-FIOS. Call now. A Nick Swisher home run off Tim Redding. The difference in this game is the Mets have been held hitless over the first 4 by A.J. Burnett. Now on to the 5th, an 8-9 and 1 in the Yankee batting order.
As always, when the 8th hitter leading off in the middle of the game, close game, always had in the back of my mind a little drag bunt. Will he try it?
Ramiro Pena ripped a double down the right field line his first time up, bluffing a bunt, and he takes a strike.
Corners are in. David Wright right at the edge of the grass. Murph moving back now.
Pena now 4 for 6 in this series, subbing for the under the weather Derek Jeter. Joe Girardi held his lineup a little bit later today before posting it to find out whether Jeter was good to go, but Derek, I don't think, has come out of the clubhouse yet in this series. I've not seen him in the dugout at all. Fouled away, 1-2.
Johnny Dave and Damon also suffering from flu bug also, but both are available as pinch hitters in this ballgame.
I think with this peculiar weather of all the wet, rain, been a lot of flu going around.
Now it's starting to get hot, all those different kind of temperatures.
Mets had the flu bug hit him too. Beltran got sick. And Pittsburgh.
Fouled off.
Lots of Purell, Gary. Stay away from those colds and fevers.
You start calling you Howard Hughes.
I'm on my way. Just lacking the beard and the toenails.
And the bank account.
And the bank account. That's right.
One-two to Pena. Struck him out. Another high fastball from Redding. That's 6 strikeouts. That matches his season high.
Well, for all the talk of that 2-seam changeup that he was going to use against the left-handers, it's nice to see Tim has recognized that he's got a pitch that they are swinging at. They are looking down, down, down for all those sinkers, and every time he pops one upstairs, he's getting them.
Burnett struck out his first time up. And he pops this a mile high. Schneider looking for it, so is Wright, but it goes out of play. Ryan was very confused as to where that ball was.
Yeah, he initially did not see it, did not pick it up. There you see his hands there. He didn't know where it was.
Not a lot of room to roam back there.
It's still some dusk right now. Still some light. A tough sky right now.
And we saw in some games earlier this season with this kind of light, there were some balls lost in the outfield.
Well, right at this time, early in the season, it was about 7:45 to 8. Now we're in the summer. It goes a little later, of course, 8:30.
And Burnett pops this one up. This will be in play as David Wright settles under it. And there are 2 away. Brooklyn baseball is in season. Get your tickets at Keyspan Park, online at brooklyncyclones.com, by calling 718-507-TIXX, or at Citi Field. Get your Cyclones tickets now.
That's the cool thing about this Mets-Yankees series, is that this, inner family kind of deal where the mom might be a Met fan, the father might be a Yankee fan, one of the kids might be Yankees, other one might like the Mets.
It's like living in a border state in 1860.
Exactly. It's unbelievable. Where I come from, they only root for one team.
Well, you've got 6 states rooting for one team.
That's right.
0-2 to Brett Gardner, who tonight has popped to short and lined out to center. Gardner has to move his feet, and that's been a theme for Redding tonight, right from his first pitch of the game.
That's 2 or 3 times he's popped him inside, and by that walk by Gardner, you know what that tells you? He doesn't appreciate it in there, and that's a good thing for Tim. Oh, here comes the cambio. Two-seam changeup away.
Not where he wanted it.
It's a work in progress, right?
Well, I think that bears talking about. I mean, he worked all week on that two-seam changeup. How hard is it to take that into a game now?
Well, it's really hard because out there, all he had to do was impress Kevin when he was throwing in between starts. Out here, he's going to try to get a big league hitter out, and that adrenaline sometimes will stop you from throwing the proper pitch.
Into center field, Reed coming in a couple of strides to get it. It's a 1-2-3 inning for Redding, who's now retired 8 in a row since the Swisher home run. Halfway through, 1-0 Yanks. New York Mets baseball is brought to you by the New York State Smokers Quit Line. Saw some two-fisted Pepsi drinkers there.
There you go.
They're the worst kind.
Daniel Murphy leads off in the home fifth inning. Mets looking for their first hit against A.J. Burnett. Murphy came about as close as anybody has gotten to a hit off Burnett, with a fly ball along the left field line on which Melky Cabrera made a nice running catch.
Boy, how beautiful is that?
It's just nice to see clear skies.
Yes. For you folks out there, Burnett has failed to give up a hit. He does have one of those games in his career, although a strange one.
It was an odd one against the Padres while pitching for Florida. He pitched a no-hitter and walked 9. He's only walked 2 tonight.
Occasionally you'll have those games. Didn't Andy Hawkins pitch a no-hitter for the New York Yankees and lost the ball game?
Technically not a no-hitter because he only pitched 8 innings.
Yeah.
Gave up 4 runs in the bottom of the 8th. Unearned runs. Result of errors and walks.
Andy Hawkins had that one good year with the Padres, Ronnie, back in the 80s. He won, what do you think he won, 18?
Murphy drives one to left center field. Cabrera going back, and he makes the grab. Oh, wow, what a play by Melky Cabrera. Didn't take a great angle at first, but boy, did he recover to make a great play.
Well, Murphy's not going to buy Melky Cabrera dinner, I'll tell you that. 2 great plays.
Well, you saw that good call, Gary. He broke across and then realized the ball was hit better. And an excellent recovery. And we talked earlier at Citi Field, you cannot have truck horses out there playing the outfield. It's too big an outfield.
Well, Melky's a center fielder playing the corners with the emergence of Brett Gardner. And Burnett loves it. That keeps the 0 in the hit column for the Mets.
Well, he's pitching a 1-0 game too. I'm sure he wants a W. That's a leadoff double right there. Maybe trips.
You see Melky responding to the Met fans. Just keep on talking. Ball 1 to Reed, who drew a walk his first time up. Since the Reed walk, Burnett's retired 8 in a row. Well, he made a nice play on Murphy's ball near the line of the second, and just a great play there. 1-1 to Reed.
Well, the Yankees really have their outfield shaded over to into left field. Excuse me, opposite field off Reed as well as Murph. Cabrera playing both Murphy and Reed as if they're right-hand pull hitters.
Two and 1 to Reed.
That can work against you. I think he played that way because Burnett's throwing 96, 97 miles an hour. That can work against you, though, if he hangs a slider, because then you're going to be hitting the ball against the defense.
You can see the outfield defense. This is a big, big ballpark.
And Reed down swinging. That's the second strike. 2 and 2 to Reed.
Excellent recovery here.
It would have been an excellent recovery if you would have let it go.
It kind of felt like a third strike. That would be the third strike. 5 strikeouts now for Burnett, who's now retired 9 in a row. Well, A.J. Burnett has not stumbled tonight, unlike myself.
Well, but he's got some great stuff. I mean, that slider is unhittable at times. And when you get into these games where there's no hits and get a catch like Cabrera, you start to say to yourself, uh-oh.
Well, we were kind of in that territory early on last night. And, you know, Sabathia and Burnett, 2 big money free agent pitchers who are settling in now as Yankees. That's part of the story. But the other half is that the Mets have a depleted lineup right now. And if you throw a good game, you're going to get this kind of performance. I mean, the Mets the last 3 days, they beat Chris Carpenter somehow. You know, one strange inning in which a ball went off Carpenter's glove and the Mets were able to take advantage and score 3. And now Sabathia and Burnett. This is some high quality pitching that a depleted lineup is facing.
Statistically, their best chance right here.
Snyder's got the good numbers against Burnett. He also had the only opportunity for the Mets in this game with a runner in scoring position after a couple of walks in the second, and Burnett got him to pop up.
His curveball, when he throws it, really snaps it. It's a lot like Blyleven's. It's just got that, like someone's got a string and just pulls it the last minute.
Did Blyleven throw his that hard?
Burt threw it hard. I mean, I faced Burt in when he was with the Pirates.
This was bigger though than this.
He had a bigger, more of a drop.
Yeah.
Burt didn't like to throw the fastball inside the left-handers. He's always run that fastball away. The Dutchman.
2-2. Just missed inside. And now a full count to Schneider with the pitcher on deck.
Well, I'm sure right now that Burnett would love to retire Snyder and not have this order flip over.
Well, once Redding pitches the 6th inning, he might be done with his pitch count where he is, so it might be a pinch hitter next time around.
Got to throw a fastball here, don't you?
Fastball away, big ballpark.
3-2. Inside, ball 4, and Schneider draws the 2-out walk, and that'll clear the pitcher spot. Third walk given up by Burnett. So now Redding, who grounded out to short his first trip. Former Met farmhand pitching to the former Yankee. And Redding takes high ball 1. And Posada will bring that ball back.
You know, he sees some frustration on his pitcher because of the walk to Schneider. Just to go out there and say, hey, listen, we got the pitcher up. Let's get through this. Throw a strike. Get out of this inning.
exactly right.
Don't let your emotions run against you. Let them help you, not hurt you.
Just get him refocused. Got the pitcher up here. Let's just get through this inning. Go in there. You're going to have a nice Gatorade.
Now behind on Redding, 2-0.
Let's not forget, Jorge Posada had a nice teacher on how to catch early in his career. His manager, Joe Girardi, was the other catcher that helped him with some of his mechanics and abilities to deal with pitching.
There's a strike, 2-1. Well, Girardi was such a cerebral catcher.
Yes. Joe, the way he prepared for games, the way he prepared a game plan, he could really do it himself. That's how smart he was back there. Hard-nosed player.
Lifted to right and playing right near the line is Swisher. Goes to the foul ground and can't quite get it at the low wall. I think that wall surprised him. He reached out like that was going to be an easy play.
Well, his problem is that he cruise controlled it over there. He needed to sprint over there and get himself situated, and then he could have made the play. See how he's kind of gliding?
Oh, boy. And he kind of got his little elbow in that cement, too.
He has been a strange-looking outfielder this year. I don't think there's any other way to put it.
He's mostly been a DH and first baseman when he was with the White Sox. Played some outfield with the Oakland A's, but
Redding gets a break. Another chance here on 2-2. And Burnett gets him looking to end the inning. 6 strikeouts for Burnett, who's held the Mets hitless through 5. Helped out by Melky Cabrera, who keeps the bit intact with a spectacular play to rob Daniel Murphy of an extra base hit. We go to the 6th, 1-0 Yankees. Contest winner is not Eric. It is Marco from Brooklyn. Congratulations to Marco and hi to Eric.
I didn't know they had New York Yankee fans in Brooklyn.
We're going to the 6th inning at Citi Field. It's been quite a pitcher's duel between A.J. Burnett and Tim Redding. Burnett and the Yankees have gotten the best of the Mets so far. Those are some committed Met fans.
Just these little shots of the folks out here, they're just fun at the ballpark, isn't it?
Most people who come to the ballpark are very nice, by the way.
They're nice, but they pound some food at this ballpark.
It's part of the experience.
Man,
the food's good.
It's a big inning, though, for Redding. Swisher's coming up. Of course, he's the one that's touched up Tim and the Mets for 1 run, that home run to left center field.
A no-doubter from the opposite field. Swisher driving one to left center.
It's a slider that stayed flat on the outside corner, but belt high, and he covered it.
Swisher's 14th of the year, and that's the only run of the game as we start the 6th inning. Redding's thrown 92 pitches. And now his 93rd is a strike to Swisher. You got Teixeira and A-Rod next.
See the pine tar above the label, on the label. Back when I played, you could not have pine tar anywhere near that label. It had to be below the label.
Especially if Tim McClellan was in the building.
That's George Brett.
I guess those rules are gone. Now, I wonder if you can groove your bats now.
Look at the tape on the bat, though, Keith. That's the kind of tape you'd put on a hockey stick.
This one lifted to shallow left. And easy for Sheffield. So Swisher retired for the first time tonight. 1 away, and that's 9 in a row sent down by Redding since the Swisher home run.
Well, very difficult to run through Swisher, Teixeira, and A-Rod. But it'd be great if Tim could have a quick inning.
That would give him a chance to go back out there for the 7th. But first things first, Teixeira has walked and flied to center. 0 for 5 now in this series as he's hit a slight skid the last few days. All around him, though, his teammates have been hitting. The Yankees came into this game having scored 28 runs the last 3 games. And Swisher bounces one foul.
This is the best I've seen Redding throw, Ronnie. Yeah, good breaking stuff, and I like the fact that he's utilizing that high riding fastball out of the strike zone. I told you, Gary, I said I'd like this guy when he was with the Nationals. I thought it was a sleeper move by Omar in the offseason, the one that kind of just came in under the radar. I always liked his stuff.
Well, he went into spring training in competition for the number 5 spot, lost it because of injury and because of the great performance by Livan Hernandez, but now they're both in the rotation and both incredibly important to the Mets' success right now with the pop gun offense they're putting out there.
The triplicate, include Nieve in that group.
He wouldn't even have been in the picture in spring training. Teixeira hooks one to deep right center field. Back goes Reed near the wall, and it's off the fence. Teixeira heads for second, and he's in standing with a 1-out double. Well, that's a home run in just about every other Major League ballpark, but not here at Citi Field. Teixeira instead has his 21st double of the year.
Just went down, and I didn't think he got it. But he let go with one hand, and that's how strong Teixeira is.
The Met fan couldn't reach it. Reaching over the railing.
Nicely played off the wall barehanded by Reed.
Well, that's how good he is that if you're a pitcher and you throw that pitch, you don't mind giving up a base hit, but you don't like giving up a ball that echoes off the wall.
Well, that's how good Teixeira is. Now A-Rod is flying to center and line to left, 0 for 2. That's lined up the middle of base hit. Teixeira racing for third. He'll be waved home and score without a throw, and it's 2-0 Yankees. Alex Rodriguez with the RBI single drives in his 37th run of the year.
Well, again, the good hitters like the first ball hit. There's a slider away, but it's up. And A-Rod wasting no time. And Teixeira is going to score easily. He runs well for a pretty big man.
And he gets great jumps. And the thing about this ballpark, because of its size, outfielders play so deep, you're going to very rarely see any throws to home plate all season long.
Well, particularly with a guy like A-Rod up there. So now Cano, who struck out and popped up, and met the Yankee fans screaming at each other and raising the volume. A-Rod runs, and Cano lifts one down the left field line. Over goes Sheffield toward the corner, and it's a fair ball. A-Rod into third, and Cano to second with a double. Three straight pitches, 3 straight hits by Teixeira, Rodriguez, and Cano.
Well, Alex running here. Cano going with it. Short hops the wall. A-Rod not sure. And with 1 out, you don't want to run yourself out of an inning here. Just right down the line, the base of the wall.
Dan Worthington heading to the mound for a conversation with Redding, who's now thrown 101 pitches tonight. Meanwhile, let's check in with Kevin.
Guys, I just want to talk to you about a conversation I had with Alex Rodriguez, just talking about his hip, his health, and especially his lateral movement. We saw the defense last night. We saw him going on that pitch. He told me, you know what, all along it hasn't been about the baseball part, whether I'm hitting a 200 or not. It's been about getting confidence back, knowing my body is reacting the way it's supposed to react. And he said last night with the movement left and right at third base and with going the other way with that power, it's the first time all year I felt like my body responded the way I thought it would respond, and we're seeing that tonight. We saw it in the first inning with defense, that hit, him running there, so certainly looks like he's finding his form, guys.
Well, of course, that's instructive for the Mets with Carlos Delgado trying to come back. Infield in for Posada with the Mets down 2-0. And a curveball hit to left center. That'll get a run in at least. Back goes Sheffield looking up, and it's out of here. Jorge Posada with a 3-run homer. The Yankees have a 5-0 lead. 4 straight hits on 4 straight pitches from Redding. And just like that, the Yankees put up a 4 spot in the 5th. Posada with his 10th home run of the year.
Breaking ball away. It was on the outside corner, but flattened out.
2 opposite field home runs for Yankee left-hand batters tonight. Swisher and now Posada. And a game that had been going so well for Tim Redding has come crashing down around his ears in short order here in the 6th inning.
Lightning strikes.
First pitch curveball. You're supposed to be able to get away with that. Jorge Posada would have none of that, and Joe Girardi's team. They always said they would hit, much to the Mets' dismay. They chose this weekend.
Mets are killing some time on the mound. Wright and Schneider going out there. Worthington has already visited. Brian Stokes trying to get ready. And Jerry, I'm sure if Stokes is ready, we'll make the move right now. Here he comes. Well, Posada getting the congratulations from A-Rod. Teixeira doubles, A-Rod singles and a run, Cano doubles, and Posada hits a 3-run homer. 4 straight pitches and a 5-0 Yankee lead. This call to the bullpen brought to you by Wagner. Paint fast, paint smart. Brian Stokes on to pitch to Melky Cabrera. After a very quick exit for Tim Redding, 4 pitches sealing his demise. And Cabrera makes it 5 straight hits for the Yankees.
First ball, fastball hitting. Wants it away. Oh, on the other side of the plate. Belt high. Jumps all over it.
Well, Brian Stokes in the game. He pitched last on the 24th against the Cardinals. Had a nice inning with 2 strikeouts. Interesting that he was pushed with Parnell's struggles to the 8th inning man, but Jerry has chosen in a 5-0 game to bring him here in the 6th.
I wonder, though, whether the speed with which this inning progressed made that impossible to resist. In other words,
yes,
at the point when it was 2-0, Stokes might have gotten up, and at 3 pitches later, there was no chance to get anybody else ready.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think he wanted to bring him in a situation with men on base, try to keep it close. Once he got him up, he figured he might as well bring him in.
Well, everything happened so quickly.
0-2 to Ramiro Pena. Pena doubled to right in the 2nd, struck out in the 5th. Redding tied his season high with 6 strikeouts, but he winds up giving up 5 runs and 6 hits in 5 1/3. And giving up the 2 home runs to Swisher and Posada. And he gets Pena for the 2nd out of the inning.
I guess that's the problem with the dismay for the Mets fans is that they've been challenged hitting the home runs, but it seems other teams are coming in here and having no problem hitting the ball the opposite way, 10 rows back.
I think that's the thing. In this series, you saw A-Rod last night, and then Swisher and Posada tonight, all going the other way and doing it with room to spare.
But don't despair.
Well, it's despair for Met fans right now for this reason, because the last 3 games now against the Yankees, the Mets have been outscored 29-1. And for the Mets, who have not lost a season series to the Yankees since 2003, and it could be in the offing after tonight. Church under the fly ball by Burnett. That ends the inning, but a damaging inning for the Mets, as Redding gives up 4 hits on 4 pitches, culminating in Jorge Posada's 3-run homer, and it's 5-0 Yankees. Donuts. America runs on Dunkin'. Oh, there's a Met fan who came ready with war paint.
More blue than orange right now.
Well played. Oh boy, some unhappy Met fans.
Because, I mean, this is the one game that, or one series you have to sit there, and if your team's shaky, you got to listen to it.
You listen to it from people in your own ballpark.
And you can't leave. You got to take it.
Well, you can always go eat.
Can't be as bad as that Friday night game at Yankee Stadium. Keith and I tried to get a car. Those poor Mets fans. Oh.
Alex Cora leads off against A.J. Burnett. Third time around the batting order now. The Mets still looking for their first hit. Cora is 0 for 2 tonight, 0 for his last 17, and now 0 for 21 in his career against Burnett. And he lines one into center field, and the Mets have their first hit. So at least Met fans can avoid that indignity tonight.
I knew as soon as you said that, Gary, all those O's, that there was going to be a hit.
You're a very prescient man.
You shot the clown, as they say.
It's called the reverse curse. That's what it is.
Curveball down. Nice hitting by Cora. Lots of plate. That was the difference there. So good hitting by Alex.
So funny, the person to break up the no-hitter, Alex Cora with his first hit off A.J. Burnett.
Now 1 for 22 against Burnett. Argenis Reyes has gone 0 for 2 tonight. Couple of ground ball outs. And he takes low and inside. It's worth noting that the Yankees have had 11 no-hitters in their history, including the one in the World Series by Don Larson. But the last 7 have all been at Yankee Stadium. The last no-hitter a Yankee threw on the road, you got to go back to 1951. Wow. He seconded Allie Reynolds 2 no-hitters that year.
The Chief. I just think the first no-hitter to be at Citi Field by a Yankee would be too much to take. I mean, that's just too much to take.
I think that's fair to say. 2-0 now to Reyes.
Ronnie, when you're pitching a tight ball game, 1-0, you know, through 5 innings, and all of a sudden your club gets you a lot of breathing room. Is there a letdown?
There's a couple things working here, Keith. I don't think it's really a letdown. I think there's a feeling that, yes, you got to put a 0 up there, but anytime you have a no-hitter and the no-hitter is broken up, and now there's always a weird feeling by the pitcher where almost his shoulders sag a little bit, and you got to fight that.
Is the very famous picture after Tom Seaver had his perfect game broken up by Jimmy Qualls. Even 2 batters later, after he got the final out of the game and completed the 1-hit shutout, he looked like he just lost the game.
Yeah. I'll never forget that picture of him standing on the mound, hands on his hips, looking like he wanted to go, literally go and strangle Jimmy Qualls. I mean, that's the look he had on that mound.
Big Tom. The winemaker now, Thomas.
Don't forget Nancy Chardonnay.
2-2 to Reyes. Slap just foul. That's what late swing almost worked for him.
It's Nancy's fancy. It's a red.
Oh, it is. I thought it was a Chard.
It's like a petite Syrah almost.
Are you on the files done?
It's a blend, right? Yeah. Let's get back to the game. This is the.
Sorry, Gary. That's all right. Won't taste the same to me.
I had a splendid Joseph Phelps the other night.
Reyes down swinging, and that's 7 strikeouts for Burnett.
Again, as is his want, he will put you away with that slider over and over. Now, that's not even a good one. Caught a lot of the plate, but a huge break in that pitch by Burnett.
That broke more horizontal than it did down.
So 1 out and 1 on for David Wright, still looking for his first hit in this series. Tonight has taken a call 3rd strike and lined out hard to right field. The Mets still have not scratched against Burnett. 7 scoreless innings at Yankee Stadium. 5 1/3 tonight.
Did it look a little more crouched to you in this at bat here? Yeah, it does. The last few days, to tell you the truth.
Good curve for a strike, 1-1.
You know what's interesting to me, Keith, is that Jerry was saying a lot about Sheffield and Wright, saying that he looks at their at-bats to see if they need a day off. Well, David, the last couple of days on some ground balls that he's kind of waited back on that have cost the Mets a couple of hits. I always think when his defense falters a little bit, it tells me that he's tired. But that's just for me watching, for the last couple of seasons.
Well, unfortunately, with everybody down, you can't afford to sit David.
That's right. Cool.
Jerry said that he would remind David of Cal Ripken. He didn't need days off. And frankly, I don't think David wants a day off either.
No. He's a gamer. He wants to be out there every day. He knows the troops are deleted. He wants to be part of this mix. The way you can get one of your star players a day off is you go on a little winning streak. That right now is a tough thing to come by.
Talking to Jerry before the game today, he said something very interesting. He has noted for the last few days that what he'd like is to be 5 or 6 games over 500 by the All-Star break. The Mets are 2 over right now. And he expanded on that a little today. I thought it was an interesting take. As Wright bounces one foul. He said, what I want is for the team to be playing well and holding its head above water when the guys come off the disabled list. He said if we're under 500 when people start getting healthy, those guys are going to think that they have to come in and be saviors and probably will try and do too much and not help as much as if they're coming into a team that's doing okay and can just jump in and be part of the mix, which I thought was interesting.
Well, much like last season, to the Mets' advantage, Philadelphia has again struggled against in the American League and interleague play. They've only won 2 or 3 games against the American League. They won today 10-0. But again, with the Mets struggling, where last year the Mets got hot at the same time and got back into it. This time, Philly let the Mets kind of hang in there. Going to be a big series in Philly on the 4th of July weekend.
And Reyes will not be there. You wouldn't expect for that series, nor will Beltran, nor will Delgado. So the Mets will be still in this shorthanded state when they play the Phillies next.
And I wonder if Oliver Perez, who's going to get a start Sunday in Brooklyn,
right tomorrow,
if he has a good start.
Double play ball, Pena to Cano, who drops the ball. The out is made. But that was the easiest of double plays if Cano had simply held on to the ball.
Well, that's what happens. And to me, it's always when you get a little nonchalant, this is what happens. You make that double play, 99 out of 100 times. But no, this is not a critical time, but it could happen in a critical part where you embarrass yourself.
But 100 out of 100 times, Keith, you take that ball on the bag and make the turn. You don't have to run off or through the bag and make the fancy damn throw. Simple as that.
Precisely.
It's a critical time if the next guy hits a 2-run home.
That's exactly right. He should be in the dugout right now.
Church tonight has struck out and grounded to Cano.
Gary, to I guess expound on your take on Jerry Manuel, or what Jerry Manuel said. Very interesting. The only problem that you have to be as a team and not run into this problem. Let's say you're 5-6 games over 500 and the troops come back. What does that mean? It doesn't mean anything to me. If they come back and they play well and you win, that's great. We're talking about this core that is not here now, except for David Wright. They were here all season long till this point last year, and they didn't have much of a better record than the team does right now.
Played poorly enough to get the manager fired. Church tied in knots, and it's 1-1.
Boy, that is just an electric curveball. It's just such a tough pitch to lay off. And he's throwing predominantly fastballs. And he's throwing hard, so it sets up that curve, and it's also a great combination. The 1-2 pitch right there. Jeez.
But on that previous pitch, with that pitch that far into the strike zone, Keith, is that just a lack of recognition, not reading the pitch out of the pitcher's hand?
It's Church starting too quick, which he has a tendency to do. And it's something he's always working on. Sometimes he gets too long with his swing, and when you get long with your swing, to catch up, you got to start early. And when you start early, you're more susceptible to swinging at bad pitches in the dirt.
1-2 from Burnett. Swing and a miss. He struck him out. 8 strikeouts for A.J. Burnett. And the Mets are done. They break up the no-hitter, but they're still down 5-0. Brought to you in high definition by Verizon Fios. If you're not watching in Fios HD, see what you're missing. Call 1-888-GET-FIOS. Call now. Brett Gardner will lead off in the 7th inning. Well, every Yankee except the pitcher, and Gardner has a hit tonight after Gardner went 5 for 6 last night.
He maxed out last night. Wow, what a game he had. Just I guess it really illustrates how quickly this Yankee offense can attack. I mean, what was it, 10 minutes, 8 minutes that they scored those 4 runs and 5 hits?
Well, they got 4 runs on 4 pitches. As Wright catches Gardner's pop-up in fair territory for the first down. Brian Stokes came on to get the final 2 outs in the 6th, then stays on for the 7th. Which is interesting considering the expanded role, the more important role that Stokes seems to have taken on over the last 10 days or so.
Yeah, you know, sometimes when you have all your offense in, say to yourself, you know, 5-0, all we got to do is chip away a little, someone can hit a bomb. Well, the Mets haven't been doing that all season long. 5-0 against a depleted offense is a much tougher hill to climb.
Here's Swisher, delivered the first run of this game with a home run back in the 3rd. And he takes ball 1 from Stokes. Stayed 1-0 until the 6th. When Teixeira doubled, A-Rod singled, Cano doubled, and then Posada hit a 3-run homer. And it changed in a hurry. From 1-0 to 5-0.
You know, Gary, talk on that point. I didn't mean to step on you there. It almost gets to a point where you think maybe the Mets need another guy out there in that bullpen. You know, have a 12-man pitching staff.
To deep center field. Reed back onto the track, staggering to make the catch. Have to take a sharp right turn for the 2nd out.
Well, Swisher with the big smile, but this one held up. That's one of those smiles that you get from the hitters in this ballpark, where they say, you know what, I covered that ball pretty good, and nowhere for it to go. As Reed comes back, that was almost like calling a fair catch on a punt, right? Coming up to make the play.
Almost like he lost it when he took that glance at the wall and had to recover from that.
Well, we've seen it a couple times here, certainly not on the Posada and Swisher home runs, but we've seen some balls in the last 2 days that go out and you think they're going to be out of here, and then they kind of sit and come back and play.
Well,
Well, Teixeira hit one his last time up. There would have been a home run just about anywhere else. Hit it off the wall near the 415 mark in right center.
And there's the wind right there, and that may have just made that ball die.
Switched a little, right?
Right over the bag, but just foul. Well, that wind would seem to indicate the ball was going left to right,
yeah.
But that ball went right to left.
Yeah.
So who knows? Still trying to figure out how this ballpark works in terms of the prevailing wind and what's going to happen in the summertime. 1-2 to Teixeira.
Well, this ballpark here, City's playing a lot like the Dome, a lot like old Busch Stadium. Big ballpark. Remember a lot of guys coming in and shaking their heads after hitting the ball a long way and getting caught in the warning track.
Well, in more recent vintage, San Diego, Petco Park.
There you go.
That had a lot of hitters complaining. Comerica Park in Detroit before they moved the fences in.
Swisher and Posada aren't complaining tonight.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, you see that the home runs have gone out of here to the opposite field, and it makes you scratch your head a little bit.
I remember the Dome was 340 down the lines. And then 396 in the gaps. And then there was 4 something and 410. It was just huge.
And the walls had to be, they're not as high as the walls in left field here, but they were a good 12 feet high, weren't they, Keith?
Right. Yes.
In the Dome?
In the open, the Dome first came in, you had to hit it up in the seats, Ron.
Yeah.
That Jimmy Wynn hit, what, 35 one year for the Astros?
Right.
The toy cannon.
And Teixeira watches low, ball 4. So a 2-out walk from Stokes, and that'll bring A-Rod to the plate. Here's your Mets upcoming schedule, brought to you by Heineken. Give yourself a good name. Final game of this series tomorrow night. Levon Hernandez against Chen-Ming Wang. We'll be back with you on Monday night from Milwaukee as the Mets open a series with the Central Division leading Brewers. 1 game in Pittsburgh and then 3 against the division rival Phillies over next weekend at Citizens Bank Park. A-Rod singled to center to drive in a run his last time up. 1 for 3 on the night.
A-Rod looks much more comfortable at the plate. You know, he was struggling. And I think he's over his little slump.
Well, he got the 2 days off last week at a time when he was really struggling. And it's been 5 or 6 days since then, and he has just been tearing it up.
He was 0 for 4 away from getting on the interstate.
How you can see him coming back, inside fastball, Brian Stokes, 95 miles an hour, ripped, foul down the third base line. So that was a pitch that was really challenging for him in the last month. He was not catching up to the fastball.
It's interesting how quickly the A-Rod needs a day off every week talk has gone away.
They need to get a new cell number so that doctor in Colorado can't call him anymore. Change the email.
3-1 now to A-Rod. Robinson Cano on deck. Popped up. Sheffield coming in. Still coming. And puts it away to end the inning. 7th inning stretch. 5-0 Yankees. Here's your Hyundai line scores. We go to the bottom of the 7th inning. The Yankees have dominated. The Mets had the first game of the Subway Series at Yankee Stadium in their pocket. Just didn't stay in the pocket of Luis Castillo's glove. They got a great pitching performance the next day from Fernando Nieve to even up the series. And since then, the Mets have been outscored 29-1 in the subsequent 3 games. Gary Sheffield, who's responsible for the 1, takes ball 1. Sheffield tonight has walked and struck out 0 for 1. Mets up 1 hit. Alex Cora singled leading off the 6th. And this one's popped up behind the plate. Posada coming back, but there's very little room.
Don't worry, folks. There won't be any P2s this year. I'm telling you. No pop-ups to the catcher.
You sound bitter.
I don't sound bitter at all. That would be I'll be bitter as a pitcher.
Yeah.
Former pitcher, yeah, I guess I would, but can't get anybody. I can't even throw the garbage out.
Now let me ask you a question. You pitched in a ballpark that has more foul territory than any other place I've ever seen.
In Oakland, yeah.
Can you pitch to that? In other words, can you pitch to the foul pop-ups?
No, you just enjoy it. That's all you do. You really do. There were pop-ups in Oakland that it would go up, and because I had pitched at Shea my first year, I would be looking for a ball from the umpire. And the next thing I know, Terry Steinbach go over there and catch it. Be the 3rd out. Well, thank you very much. Here we go.
Yep.
Wade Boggs hated hitting in Oakland because of that.
Now Burnett behind in the count for a rare time tonight. 3-1 on Sheffield. And there's a strike. Sheffield thought he had ball 4, but Chris Guccione said no.
It's very interesting. Watch Posada come up really quickly on that ball. Usually if you're a catcher, stay down there, hold it for the umpire, but still got the call from Guccione.
Fastball away.
And Sheffield down swinging at that fastball. That's 9 strikeouts for A.J. Burnett, matching his season high. New York Mets baseball is brought to you by Lexus and the newly expanded IS line. Burnett has had as many as 14 strikeouts in a big league game. 9 tonight. Murphy's come the closest to getting an extra base hit tonight. Hit one over Cabrera's head that he ran down in the 5th. And a ground ball toward the hole. Diving stop by Pena. Up and firing on a hop to Teixeira. Tremendous play by Pena. 2 down. And Daniel Murphy must be thinking, what must I do to get a hit tonight?
Well, they threw a little big league defense at him. That's what they've done, the Yankees.
Well, nice dive here. But watch the agility once he's sprawled out on the floor there to pick himself up, and make a powerful throw.
And Teixeira just does not miss any short hops over there at first base. Solid.
Very nice.
Ramiro Pena has been very impressive.
He has been.
And Daniel Murphy's been robbed 3 times tonight.
Well, Keith, you can make those scoops look much easier if you get your body out there and get that stretch and the glove out there. Get the short hop.
Yep. You either want the long hop or the short hop. You want to see the short. Very nice. When you get the short hop, it doesn't allow the ball. There's Burnett's reaction. He loves it. And Sabathia, of course, in a reclining position.
That's a golfer's club.
That's a starting pitcher's look right there.
It is.
4 out of 5 days, just sitting back.
Where's the Arnold Palmer?
You can sit like that if you throw a gem the night before.
There's no reclining after a bad game.
See, Andy Pettit's on top of his game.
There's a lot of wins right there in that duo. There's Jabba right behind him.
Well, he's staying close, trying to hopefully it rubs off a little bit.
Jabba had a good start his last outing. That one at Yankee Stadium was like watching paint dry. He's got good stuff. He's got to hone it down. If he throws strikes, he's going to win. So you pitchers get to sit there for 4 days. Look at that. Reclining. I tell you, that's not right.
It's pretty tough on that fifth day, though, I'll tell you.
What did Lenny say when
Dude, how can they pay the starting pitcher the same as I'm making? It's a joke.
10 strikeouts for A.J. Burnett, his first time in double figures this year. And the Mets again are down 1-2-3. On to the 8th at Citi Field, 5-0 Yankees. A.J. Burnett looking great early. Burnett holding the Mets without a hit through the first 5. That's the highlight of the night for the Mets. Great defense by the Yankees. Nick Swisher with a home run, and then it all fell apart for Tim Redding in a small space of time. Capped by Jorge Posada's 3-run bomb. And Redding's good night turns into a bad one in very short order. Now Pat Mish will come on to pitch the 8th inning for New York.
Well, the left-hander Pat Mish has had 2 appearances for the Mets. Of course, he started with the San Francisco Giants. 1 good, his first one. Not so good in his last one.
And Robinson Cano hits his first pitch down to Daniel Murphy. Mish gets over to cover. 1 pitch and 1 out. Commemorate the inaugural season at Citi Field with Mets Amazing Memorabilia, the official source for all your Mets game used and autographed collectibles. Call 718-559-3144 or log on to Mets.com/game-used to get your amazing memorabilia now. Well, here's Posada, who has the biggest hit in this game, an opposite field 3-run homer that ended Redding's night in the 6th. The Yankees now have 5 players in their lineup tonight who have double figures in home runs. The Mets have nobody on their team with double figures in home runs. In fact, the Mets and Braves were the only team starting play today who did not have a player with at least 10 home runs. Nate McClough has 12, but 9 of those came as a Pirate.
Chef has 9, right?
In, 3/4 of the time played.
Let me take that back about Pat Mish. I said 1 good, 1 bad. His last one was not that bad. And in the 3rd, did not give up any runs, but he walked a couple, which he hadn't done in his first outing.
Yeah, left with the bases loaded, and Elmer DeSenz got him out of a jam last night. Posada fouls it off. Posada batting right-handed for the first time tonight, and like Teixeira, hitting for a far higher average right-handed than left.
There's only one way that guy plays, Mark Teixeira, isn't it, Keith?
Yep.
All out, all the time.
I'd love to have him.
Well, did you see him on the fly ball that A-Rod hit to end the last inning?
Well, it's you know what, it's such an aberration now that when you see it, all 3 of us are up here like, did you just see what I just saw?
For the folks out there, when the ball was caught, he had already touched third base and was around 10 feet beyond third base and heading for home.
Posada lifts one to center. Easy this time for Reed, who's had a busy night. 2 out. And 6 putouts out in center field for Jeremy. Let's watch Teixeira on the bases when A-Rod flied out to end that inning.
This is a can of corn now, folks.
Look at that. Well, that's how he scored from first on Castillo's drop pop-up 2 weeks ago.
Absolutely. Taking nothing for granted.
If you play the game the right way all the time, it will reward you. If you don't play the game the right way, you'll get away with it 99 times out of 100, but that 100th time, you'll look bad.
The baseball gods, they'll get you.
Cabrera flares one over Murphy's head and into right field. A 2-out single for Melky Cabrera. Second hit of the night for Melky. And the Yankees' 8th hit. Look at that smile. He's had plenty to smile about tonight with his defense and now with a couple of hits.
Well, you only take these. Well, I'll tell you right now, Mr. Murphy's not going to have anything to say to him at first base. I'll tell you, he's robbed Daniel twice and now has thrown one over his head.
They're conversing very pleasantly.
I don't see Daniel smiling, do you?
Yeah, it's a little terse.
One guy was smiling, the other guy isn't.
Now Ramiro Pena, another switch hitter. He's just 1 for 15 as a right-hand batter this year. And he takes a strike. Pena 1 for 3, doubled back in the second, and struck out twice. The Marlins and the Rays are tied 2-2 in the 8th. The Phillies have won today. The Braves have lost. If the Mets lose and the Marlins win tonight, the Marlins would pass the Mets in the standings.
They've lost Matt Lindstrom to the disabled list, and that's a bullpen that's very much challenged the Marlin bullpen.
But their starting pitching has really kicked in again. Slow ground ball for Cora to handle, and the running throw handled by Murphy, and they get Pena to end the inning. So a good inning for Pat Mish. Now we go to the bottom of the 8th at Citi Field. Ryan Schneider to lead things off with the Mets trying to get something on the board. Complete game 5 hitter. Jason Worth 2 home runs and the Phillies win. White Sox score in the bottom of the 9th on a Gordon Beckham RBI single to beat the Cubs 8-7. Orioles lead the Nats 5-3 in the 8th. Cincinnati up 6-3 on Cleveland. Jay Bruce with his 18th home run. We mentioned the Marlins and Rays. Brett Carroll a homer for Florida. Carlos Pena his 23rd for the Rays. San Diego up 7-1. Colorado leading Oakland 3-0 in the second. The Cardinals got 2 homers from Albert Pujols and beat the Twins 5-3. Tim Wakefield out-dueled Javier Vasquez and the Red Sox 1-0 win. The Angels, Mike Napoli homer in the 9th to beat Arizona 2-1. Kaz Matsui homered for the Astros tonight. They beat the Tigers. Barry Zito had a 4-0 lead in Milwaukee. That's now gone. 4-4 in the 8th. Brian Bruni is on to pitch for the Yankees in the bottom of the 8th. And I thought it was interesting that there was very little reaction to Bruni's announcement into the game from the Met fans. As Schneider gets under one, shallow right field, Cano going out, Swisher coming in to call, and that's the first out. So I guess the burying of the hatchet between K-Rod and Bruni has resonated with Met fans.
With the fans too. He's been on the disabled list with a strained right elbow flexor muscle 2 times this year, which really means for you guys at home that his elbow hurt when he threw. But he's got 15 Ks and 11 innings pitched when he has been able to be on the field. He was a real asset to them in April.
Now Fernando Martinez will bat for the pitcher Mish. Fernando out of the lineup for the 2nd straight night. Will probably start tomorrow night. He has been struggling big time at the plate, as you know. Elmer descends, getting ready in the Mets bullpen to pitch the top of the 9th. One and one to Martinez, and he breaks his bat. The barrel stopped by the pitcher Bruni, and A-Rod throws out Martinez. Bruni just reached out his foot and stepped on the barrel.
Exactly.
Unfazed.
Oh, sawed off right there. So excellent skate save.
And a beauty.
Just smothered it.
Had it all the way.
Handled it with aplomb.
Very nice.
So 2 out and nobody on. Now Alex Cora, who has the only Met hit tonight, singled to center in the 6th inning. Well, on this homestand Tuesday night, the Mets managed just 2 hits against Joel Pinheiro. He carried a 1-hitter into the 9th. Wednesday they exploded for 11 runs and 16 hits, but then Thursday 5 hits, even though they beat Chris Carpenter. Yesterday 3 hits and then 1 hit tonight, and 1 hit through 8 as Cano throws out Cora. On to the 9th. Yankees 5, Mets nothing. To you by Audi, truth in engineering. Beautiful view of the exterior of Citi Field right outside the Jackie Robinson Rotunda. And now we take you inside. You've got the Acela Club off to your right. And then working your way back toward home plate. There's the Acela Club.
You know what's interesting, Gary, is that folks having a good time. We always talk about the lighting in the interior of the ballpark, but that first shot, the outside lighting is just beautiful. I never see that when I'm leaving at night because I'm going as quick as I can. No, in the parking lot, going as quick as I can.
The bridge in right center field. Hideki Matsui pinch hitting to lead off the 9th inning up against Elmer Descends. Matsui pinch hit in the game last night and flied out.
Nice job by Mr. Stokes with 2 innings. Mr. Mish.
Well, the last game of this series tomorrow night will pit Livan Hernandez against Chen Ming Wong. If you look at Descends and his numbers through 2 appearances, Elmer became a bit unglued in his outing last night. Gave up home runs to Gardner and A-Rod in the 8th inning.
Well, look at this Yankee offense, and of course Girardi, every chance he gets in these National League games, trying to get Matsui some at-bats. 9 straight, so he's not been able to play. He cannot play in the field right now with those knees. Trying to keep him as sharp as he can.
Nope. Joe's going to be feeling much better about things. 33 runs in the last 4 games.
That's the key for them, is that, you know, they know that at some point they're going to break out of it. They just have too many good hitters.
Well, his club's going to go 10 over 500 too. He's going to feel very good about that. If they win tonight, 42 and 32.
And they've got to if they want to stay with the Red Sox.
Red Sox seems like they win every night, doesn't it?
Boston won today. They're now 18 games over 500. Matsui fouls it away. And, you know, you can say, well, you know, the wild card is there for the taking for the Yankees. But you look at the AL West, and with Texas and the Angels both playing well enough.
And Tampa's going to make a run. You guys saw them in person play. They're very athletic. They're a kind of team that they get a little better pitching. They can make a real solid run.
Well, they're going to get their big left-hander back, of course.
Well, he came back tonight.
And that's going to help.
Talking about Scott Kazmir, of course. They sent Andy Sonnenstein down to the minors, by the way.
That was what I heard they were going to do, because Sonnenstein was just not getting the job done.
The best thing he did all year was hit when the manager made a mistake with Longoria.
The other thing is they got Chad Bradford back off the DL. It's a long time at bat for Matsui. He's already seen 9 pitches.
You know, it's amazing to me because that 2006 season, Bradford and Darren Oliver did such a nice job for this Mets team. Bradford still pitching in Tampa Bay. Oliver with a win tonight. 2-0.
Got the win in relief for the Angels when Mike Napoli homered in the 9th in Arizona. Again the 3-2 and again a foul ball. So Descends having worked hard to his first hitter.
I saw Darren Oliver and I said, Darren, how you doing? How you still doing it? He goes, Ronnie, I don't know what, but every single December they keep sending me another contract to sign. And I go, okay, I guess I will. I'll do it one more time.
Well, you remember that Darren was going to retire the spring of 2006, but the Mets at the very last moment put him on the roster. He had already gone home to L.A. He was ready to pack it in. Matsui hits one to left center field. Reed over in the gap, and he runs it down. 7th put out for Jeremy Reed tonight.
And because he's become so important to the Mets, Feliciano had made the team, and then he decided to go with Oliver, so Feliciano was not on the team. And of course, Pedro joined the team soon after that. But that was a strange bit of circumstance.
Oh, Oliver was the guy that gobbled up those middle innings for the Mets that year.
And remember, he could stay in games because he was a good hitter.
Yep. Well, he was the son of a big league hitter.
That's right, Bob Oliver.
Still is, Bob. Here's Brett Gardner, who's 0 for 4.
I don't know. They were having a Brett last time I talked to him.
By the way, Gardner's 5-hit game last night, the first time anybody for either side has ever had a 5-hit game in a regular season or postseason game between the Mets and Yankees. Bless you. 1-2 to Gardner.
Did you hear that? I put my cough button on.
A little late.
Was I a little tardy?
You were a little tardy. You got to start that sooner.
That sneeze was in the catcher's mitt.
Oh. It's one of those sneezes that just sneak up on you.
Descends, strikes out Gardner for the second out. So 2 away.
Kind of like that Yankee lineup in the 6th.
This 4th of July weekend, the real fireworks are taking place on the 5th as the Mets reignite their explosive rivalry with the Phillies right here on PIX. The Mets battle the Phillies with control of the NL East on the line next Sunday at 1:30 right here on PIX. Well, 41,302 on hand tonight. Another new Citi Field record.
Keeps going up, right?
3rd consecutive sellout. Nick Swisher takes ball 1. What's in your hand, Keith?
I mentioned the cough button. This is all plugged into our earphones right here. This red button is the cough button. And neither can the truck hear me. Now this is the talk back right here where but you can't hear me.
Some very interesting things are said on that talk back. By the way,
the talk back, the truck hears me, but if you can't hear me, or if I have to sneeze or Gary, we press the cough button, and no one hears it because I can't cough in my director and my producer's ear in the truck. So, and this is our volume for how much in our ear. So there's a little tutorial for you right there.
It's like watching Bill Nye's Science Guy.
And you have number 17 on your box to make sure you use the right one.
That's right. 3-1 to Swisher. How long did it take you to learn that, by the way?
What's what?
To use your cough button.
You know what happened to me once? I used the wrong. I pressed the wrong box one time. I thought I had the talk back on. I didn't.
Oh, you pushed my box.
Well, it was long before you.
Yeah, but I'm saying, yeah.
Swisher on with a 2-out walk.
Oh, geez.
So, in other words, something went on the air that wasn't supposed to.
Yeah, but it wasn't anything that
wasn't a firing offense.
It didn't get me. Yeah, right. It didn't get me in trouble.
So you know on TV, Keith, you can say anything once. You know that.
Exactly right.
Are you sure?
Yeah, sure. He's saying anything right now. We just might not see you tomorrow. Now to Scherer, who's been on base 3 times with a double and 2 walks. In the last of the 9th, the Mets will have 2, 3, and 4 in the order coming up. Reyes, Wright, and Church, as the Mets try to avoid being 1 hit for the first time in nearly 3 years. They were nearly 1 hit this week.
And trying to avoid the highlight of this program being the audio box display.
Up until that point, it was the guy in the Yankee jersey going in the dunk tank.
That's right.
Slow ground ball for Murphy. And that'll do it for the Yankees in the top of the 9th. Last licks for the Mets as they try to avoid getting shut out by the Yankees tonight. Last of the ninth inning at Citi Field. The last time the Mets were one hit, you got to go back to September of 2006 when Chuck James and McKay McBride combined to one hit the Mets for the Atlanta Braves. David Robertson will try and finish it off for the Yankees tonight.
Well, David made his major league debut on June 29th. Lost at the New York Mets, long an earned run in 2 innings pitched. We like his stuff, though. He throws in the 90s, got a good overhand breaking ball, and throws strikes.
A.J. Burnett went the first 7, allowed the single to Cora leading off the 6th inning, walked 3 and struck out 10. Brian Bruni pitched a 1-2-3-8. In the last 21 innings, the Mets have gone down 1-2-3 16 times. Argenis Reyes leads off the last of the 9th and takes ball 1. And that really goes against the way the Mets had been playing up until that point.
Yeah, they had done an outstanding job of pushing the starting pitchers of the opposing teams into high pitch counts.
Nope, they faced 2 pretty fine pitchers in Sabathia and Burnett.
3 in a row, Keith. Chris Carpenter with the Cardinals.
And of course, Joel Pinheiro earlier in the week. He threw a complete game 2 hitter.
Well, Gary, this is the time of year when it starts getting tougher, not easier.
Well, I'm trying to remember the last time in the course of a week the Mets were held to 2 hits or less twice.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to go back a long, long way for the last time that happened. Reyes pokes one foul, but I mean, we've been saying for the last couple of weeks, this is a team that is very much on the razor's edge. And they're capable of putting together some good offensive nights, but let's face it, they are really bereft of offense in a lot of ways once you get past David Wright.
Well, I think at some point, and Tim Redding got close today, he just really was kind of ambushed in that 6th inning as they just jumped all over him early in that inning. 4 pitches, 4 hits, all the runs scored. Right now, if you're a starting pitcher in the Mets, you got to think to yourself, 7 with 2 earned runs is where I got to be. 3 earned runs tops.
So far tonight, that wouldn't have been enough. 2-2 to Reyes.
It wasn't enough for Livan Hernandez.
But I mean, this is when you play backup players, they can do a good job for a period of time. But as we always talk about, when you overplay guys who are backups, you get exposed.
Yeah. But in their defense, even the regular players that had a tough time against Burnett tonight, Sabathia last night, Carpenter the night before. These are 3 pitchers that are on top of their game 3 days in a row.
I really feel that the only reason why nothing has been done as far as a move, and that's going to stay in play.
A-Rod reaching to make the grab. Nicely done for the first out.
I think, Gary, if Philly had played 500 ball and if Philly had played 500, this club would be 6-7 games out. And that it would be a little more dicey for Omar on what to do. But the fact that if they lose tonight, a game and a half out, you know, they're right there trying to ride the storm.
Yep. Well, they have a very difficult week coming up. After tomorrow night, when they finish with the Yankees, they go to Milwaukee, a really good team to play 3, and they'll have to face their best pitcher, Giovanni Gallardo, in the 3rd game of that series. Then the game in Pittsburgh where they got swept.
Never say die Pirates against the Mets, at least.
And then 3 in Philadelphia as Wright swings and misses. David's gone 0 for 7 in this series so far, and there is so much pressure on his shoulders right now. Because when he doesn't hit, it's hard for this team to win. Hit to right field. Circling in is Swisher. And that's the 2nd out. So the Mets are down to their final out of the night. Don't forget to keep it tuned here on Pix 11. But if you want baseball, head over to SNY for Lincoln Mercury post-game live right after tonight's game and after every Mets game this season. No matter what network the game is on, there is a Lincoln Mercury post-game live on SNY. So you can flip it over there after we're done here for continuing coverage of the Mets. Here's Ryan Church, 0 for 3. He struck out twice tonight, 0 for 6 in the series. And he takes a fastball for a strike. Dave Robertson trying to finish what A.J. Burnett started. Burnett with 14 shutout innings against the Mets this year.
I personally think the big test for the Mets offense really will be tomorrow. You faced Carpenter, you faced Sabathia, you faced Burnett. I mean, tomorrow you're facing Chin-Min Wong, who in the past been one of the best Yankee pitchers, won 19 games, two starts in a row. But let's face it, right now he's kind of a lost pitcher. Pitched a little better in his last start, 5 innings, 3 runs.
But he's 0-6 with an 11.20 ERA.
And if he throws a complete game 2-hitter on him, then you have to go back to the drawing board.
Well, the Yankee fans remaining in this crowd of better than 41,000 are ready to celebrate as the Yankees are on the verge of clinching the season series against the Mets. And the curveball fouled off. Last time the Yankees beat the Mets in a season series was 2003.
Tale of 2 cities.
1 city.
A tale of 2 boroughs. 1 happy, 1 sad.
There are better days ahead, Met fans.
That guy's got to button his shirt up. Very sloppy.
1-2 to Church, and the curveball fouled off. Mets in danger of being shut out for the 4th time this year, and the 2nd time this week. Robinson Cano in front of this one. And for the first time since 2006, the Mets have been 1 hit. Burnett, Bruni, and Robertson combining on the 1-hit shutout. The Yankees have outscored the Mets in the last 3 meetings 29-1 as they take this one 5-0.
Well, there's not much to say about